Welcome to I'll Be the Judge,
where opinions are bold, the vendor tea is hot, and the bridesmaids' dresses are questionable.
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Casey.
We are both wedding photographers who have seen it all.
From first looks to last call meltdowns,
Each week we're pulling back the veil
and calling out the trends, traditions, and totally chaotic moments in the wedding world.
Nothing's off limits. If it happens between yes and I do, we are judging it.
So grab a bevy,
fluff your train, and let's get into it. Look at us both podcasting on the road.
Again, we're just booked and busy.
I'm on a personal trip, but that's fine.
I mean, mine's like half business, half pleasure.
I know. Are you so ready for your wedding this weekend?
Well, I've got two. I've got one tomorrow and then one on Saturday. And yes, after finalizing timelines and just speaking with teams, I'm like, yay, let's do it. There's only so much stressing I can do beforehand. And then when it comes to the day before, I'm like, well, whatever happens. Let's do our best and it's going to be nice. All I'm praying for is nice weather because it's looking a little spotty, but it's not going to rain.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about it. We don't need to talk about it.
Fantastic. Well, yay. I'm super stoked to talk about probably like one of my favorite topics because you know how much I love to network. So I'm excited.
So true. You're good at it. And it's great for me in our friendship because you bring me so many new people and I like barely have to lift a finger. I'm like, whoa, you know so many people. This is insane. I love this for me.
I think I'm just a really extroverted person. So just talking to people becomes really natural to me.
Totally.
But I mean, I feel like it comes natural to you as well. So, but I think also it comes natural to you, but I feel like it takes a little bit more prep for you to like mentally be able to give that much energy because as much as you seem extroverted, I think I know you well enough. Like, I think that you're truly an introvert who can be extroverted.
I am an extroverted introvert through and through.
Yeah.
I like my alone time. I like when I'm at these events like Kinetic or Whippa or anything like that. Like I can be on. I can totally be on and I enjoy it. Like I enjoy like speaking with people and meeting people and learning about them. But then when I get home, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I like this. It's a recharge.
I have a second of that recharge and then I'm like, okay, what's next? Like I need just
you
a
almost
teensy
I have
recharge.
friends like you though, not in the industry, just regular schmegular cool people. And I feel like you almost, and feel free to disagree, but I feel like you almost get more energy being a social butterfly. Like you thrive off of the energy around you, where I'm sort of like, it drains me a little bit. And I need a lot longer for like, you know, my recharge rate.
Mine really is just recharging my sleep because I like sleep. So for me, like, as long as I get my sleep, I could get up and go again, like the next day. So yeah, I do think that I am a true extrovert when it comes to that. And I think it's important to know, like, networking, I keep thinking, well, why don't more people do it? It's brought so much great things to my business, but it's not as easy for everybody else. I also feel like it's a little bit of a product of how I grew up. So I went to like 12 different schools before the age of 12. So from kindergarten to 6th or 7th grade, whatever that is, 6th grade, I had gone to a new school almost every year. So for me, I had to figure out a way to adapt with new people and new dynamics every single year, like during my formative years. So I think that has a lot to do with it for me. But I've also just been a chatty Cathy. Like my teachers wrote on my report card every year, she's chatty. I had to move her seating chart multiple times.
And those poor teachers, they all went through the same toxic cycle of moving you, but then you would probably just befriend the person next to you. Or like, it's not going to change. I'm still going to talk.
No, I just like love to talk. But also I will say I also have learned to love listening. I always want to like make other people feel warm and comfortable in all of these things, but I feel like what people really need is for someone to listen to them and hear them and see them. And I feel like that's something that I've really worked on the last couple of years because I think it's really important too.
It is so important. It's actually, I took a course in college for listening. It was, I
Is that
can't
a
remember what it
thing?
was called. Where I went to school, yes.
That's no, that I think most people I've ever met in life could use a course on listening.
It was crazy. It was stuff that like you don't really think about. But I think you're totally right when it comes to people just want to be heard. People, there's some saying, I forget what it is, but people like listening to themselves talk. And when you can sort of be reciprocal of that information, number one, your conversations have so much more substance to it. You're not just like moving to the next thing, you're like dissecting, and you learn a lot more about a person through listening. I don't know how great at listening I am, but I feel like a lot of that just is my ADHD, and my brain is just constantly moving. So it's hard for me, but it's like I have to actively try to remember, which honestly, this podcast has been really eye opening because we have had such great guests coming on. And where I would, assume that I've already heard everyone's spiels, in the new information, my brain's like, wait, we didn't
Yeah.
know that. Like,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I felt like I was a little bit quiet when Sarah came on, and Molly too. And I almost have to remind myself, like, you need to ask questions, like speak up, like make sure they remember that you're there. But it's just so interesting, and I feel like I'm really getting a good lesson on listening, and it's engaging, and it's not difficult. It's not made to be difficult. You know what I mean? Especially when somebody's they're like an eloquent speaker. Um, yeah, it's intriguing, and it makes my brain tingle, in all the
It
good ways.
does. No, I completely agree. I was thinking about something the other day when we were talking about this concept of networking, because the reason why we're even talking about this in depth today is because somebody submitted a question for our very first episode that was, or like a hot take. They said like it's shallow and not helpful, networking is. And I was thinking to myself,
I
oh,
remember.
I so disagree, but let's talk about it, right? And obviously that person has a different lived experience than me, and I have to keep that in mind, that they're saying this for some reason, which means there's probably more than one thought or opinion out there about it. And like, let's talk about it. Let's maybe give some tools or some conversations to help people to be able to access that. But I was thinking the other day what I could do better at networking. And it's something I've done a little bit, but I almost want to give like a layup. Like, I'm not really a sports girly, but like, I think it's a basketball term. But basically, it's when you set someone up that you're talking to for success, for making them look good. I might ask Casey in front of people something about her achievements, because I know that I'm now giving her an opportunity to talk and sell herself in a way that's a little bit more approachable and comfortable than just like her being like, I got the Arizona Pride award for, most emotional moment. And obviously, like, she should be able to share those things, but I feel like it's so much more helpful when you give someone an opportunity to let themselves shine. And I think that that's something I really love to do, is making other people feel good.
It's a graceful way of transitioning for sure, rather than, because obviously I feel like I mean, you and I might be a little bit different. So I would say, especially like in conversations, I'm a person who has a hard time. And as a salesperson, as a photographer selling my services, I rely heavily on my work to sort of speak for itself. I think that we as photographers can get away with that because obviously like an image says 1,000 words. But it's interesting because speaking about your work, bragging about your work in a humbling manner can be difficult for some people, myself included. I think you are very good at doing that. You almost lay up. Is that the term?
I
I'm
think
not
it's
a
a
sports
basketball
person.
term. Yeah, you get like, you do,
I
it's
think that,
it's
no, no,
the
no. You're totally
assist.
right. You're totally right. I just don't use I'm not sports. Listen, we're doing our best. No,
We're
I
doing
think
our
you
best.
do a really good job of laying up yourself. That way, when you come to share your achievements and your progress, it doesn't sound braggy. You sound experienced, and you sound like you know what you're doing. You have a good head on your shoulders. So that's definitely something that I
Interesting.
need to, put forward this year. That's something that I'm working behind the scenes constantly, just making sure that the way that I speak about myself is not coming off in a braggy manner, but coming off as I'm experienced and I love what
Well,
I do. And
yeah, I think it's hard as women to confidently speak about their achievements and what they're good at, because growing up, we're taught to mind your P's and Q's, don't seem too showboaty, which I still agree. Like, I still don't think anyone should be going out bragging about how great they are. However, when we are pitching our services and trying to make new creative partnerships and show our skills and what differentiates us, that's no one else is going to do that for us. I mean, maybe if we've got great friends, but for the most part, I feel like that's really up to us and our success. And that happens a lot of the times. Now it should happen, and I'm interested to hear from Samantha today. We're super stoked to hear what she has to say. I want to give her a little bit of an intro before she pops on with us. Today's guest is someone who doesn't just plan beautiful events, she builds meaningful experiences that leave a lasting imprint. Samantha LeenHeer is the owner of House of Joy Events, a design and planning firm known for its intentional approach to celebration, where the details are handled and the moments feel deeply personal. She's also the visionary behind Kinetic Experiences, a fresh take on networking that's shaking up the luxury wedding space. Kinetic is all about connection with purpose, bringing industry pros together in high vibe, high value environments that spark ideas, fuel relationships, and move businesses forward. Whether she's guiding a couple through one of life's biggest milestones or curating a room full of power players, Samantha leads with heart, creativity, and community at the center of everything she does, which I could not agree with more. Casey and I actually went to the Santa Barbara Kinetic experience where we got to spend almost a week together, which was so fun. She was my roomie, and
it was so much fun.
we did so many fun things.
Yay, she's here.
The
Hi,
woman of the hour. How are you, Samantha?
I am good. I'm excited to be here.
Good.
I'm nervous to be here, but I'm excited.
Don't
Don't
be
be
nervous.
nervous. We're chill. Also,
You should see my lights set up. I'm like, I got lights all over. It's so dark in my office.
has multitude of lights, and I'm just chilling in a car. Casey's in Canada. You know
Yeah,
what?
but you're surrounded by windows.
If it makes you feel
That's
any
true.
better, normally when my office is at home, it's like in the back part of the house and it's terrible lighting. So
It's
I
terrible
typically
lighting.
have to have like a couple of them. I've got them all plugged into my computer. I'm away now. So I've got this beautiful, like the light is hitting me perfectly. I'm like, oh, this is nice for once.
Yeah, that's the play. That's the play. Well, Sam, we gave your intro right before you hopped on, and then we were sharing about how we were at Santa Barbara Kinetic Experiences and networking and all of the things, the pitfalls, the good things, the scary things, the uncertain things. But we're excited to kind of have you on because you, I feel like, are such a pioneer in this quote unquote. I hate the word networking, but at the end of the day, that's what we can distill it down to is the word networking. But I feel like you're such a pioneer in this space, but you've also been in this space for so long that you have so much to share about it. So um, I guess my first question to you is what is networking worth it? Because we had so many people submit basically some hot takes saying that they felt like networking wasn't worth it or it was too hard or there wasn't enough payoff. So, I mean, I guess let's start strong. What do you have to say about that?
Peel so many layers of the onion back on that one. I think it first, I'm going to start from the top. I think it actually isn't networking. I think it's actually business development. I think it comes down to where you want to see your business go, where you want to see your business grow, and how you're going to develop the strategy and the game plan to do that. Is networking the right way to do that for everybody? No. Is it better for some and better for others? Absolutely. So do I think it's a waste of time? I think it depends on all and how and why you're showing up and the spaces you're showing up in and why you're showing up in those rooms. I think very quickly you can be in rooms that you feel like the industry is telling you need to be in, when in actuality, they're not the best fit for your brand. They're not in alignment with your clients. They're not going to find you and feed your funnel. And I think that that's where people find frustration is they're putting in work, they're putting in investments, huge investments often, and they're not seeing anything come through the pipeline. And I challenge people that, return on investment when it comes to something like business development very much is a long-term outcome. You need to begin to foster those relationships. And I'm such a profound believer in the fortune is in the follow-up. And if you go and you spend a day together, a dinner together, a 3-hour education seminar together, if you're on a webinar, any degree of anything, you have one little Zoom call for an hour, like, great, you have 1 hour of those people's entire week. And how are you really developing what you could do in business together and creating that, and the relationship within that? You've got to sort of be in that person's mindset. You kind of, in a way, have to like sell yourself to each other. Like, how can that person see working with you? How can you craft ideas together? So no, I think there's more opportunities now to network than ever, but I think the landscape on networking has changed to where it's not just about going and passing out business cards and telling people who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Completely, totally agree. That was so well spoken. And as before you came on, Chelsea was also talking about because the person who had, I'm not sure who it was, but whoever they were, meaning I don't know their industry, because you're right, it is different for literally everybody. And I think it is what, before you sign up, you do have to sort of take a step back and be like, what am I getting out of this? What do I want to come from this? Where do I want to see my business? How is this going to help me? What am I going to do once I'm there? Because I feel like if you're signing up, like you said, these big investment pieces, networking events or workshops, whatever it may be, if you don't have a sort of a game plan when you go, you aren't going to see anything come through that pipeline. You might, but like that's on good luck. And you obviously have great work, whatever it may be, that is doing that talking for you, but you can't just simply show up and expect, as a photographer myself, I can't just show up to Kinetic and expect, there to be 18 planners there who are all going to, number one, fall in love with me, fall in love with my work, align with what I want to do. And it just doesn't work that way. So coming up with different game plans of what you want to get out of these things, I think is so smart. And going back to what that person had said, Chelsea and I were just talking about how it is going to be different for everybody. If you are an introverted person like myself, signing up for Engage London, where there's 600 people there, might not be the best move for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's draining.
Starting small. I'm an introvert true and true. I think I obviously attended Kinetic. It was one of the best things ever. And luckily for me, which was totally unplanned, I ended up having a wedding that next weekend. Not only did it get published, I felt so incredibly like just the people I had met. Obviously, John Dolan was there. He was such a cool person to like meet. It just refreshed me so much. And I remember texting Chelsea being like, at the end of the wedding day, I was like, that was literally the best wedding like I think I've ever produced. The energy was there. I had everything that I wanted to get out of Kinetic, which was simply just like meet people, see how everybody's like doing business their way, what's working for them, what's not, and taking all of that information back to my wedding and how I do things. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like this, I was on such a high after Kinetic. It was so much fun.
Well,
You did
good.
such a good job with that event.
Thank you. I'm glad.
I don't want to say the exact same things as Casey said because I feel the exact same way. But piggybacking off of that, Sam, what do you have to say about the conversations that networking or business development in the way that we do it in the wedding world feels shallow? I feel like sometimes they see the glitz and the glamour and the really high production level of these events, and they assume it's surface level or shallow, or you have to look or be or move a certain way. What is your kind of take on that?
Listen, I think anyone from the outside looking in can think all that they want to think about anything, and I could think that their Kardashians' lifestyle is like incredibly insane, but it might feel great to them, and they might not have any mental health issues, physical issues. Like I don't know, I guess maybe you could say no family issues and that's all for show, or that's just for the way it is and they feel great about it. But until I live that, I can't really fully like judge that and I think you can have an opinion on it, but I don't think it's truly fair because you're not having the context of that experience in order to judge it on. So I think from the outside looking in, you're basing information off of what you know and you hear. And there's the spectrum on that is from people who don't like it and would never go back to those people who love it and, are long-term, alumni and would attend, hand over fist every opportunity, right? Like the people who love Taylor Swift will go anywhere and everywhere for her, and those who don't won't, right? So there's a spectrum to sort of everything. I think there's a degree of how networking events can feel like forced or performative in a way. And I think that all depends, again, like how you're showing up and why you're showing up. If you're showing up to something, that doesn't feel like it's an environment you feel like you naturally feel like you're a fit for, if it's something where you don't feel like, you're doing all these things or putting yourself into clothes or you're not a night owl and you're up dancing into the hours of the night just trying to make yourself fit in with that group of people, I would question whether or not those are your people to begin with and whether that's a space you need to be in. And I think the idea of something feeling forced, it's probably because you feel in some way obligated to be there. And I think there's a mindset shift that can come with both of those to either say, either this isn't the best thing for me, but this is exactly the type of people that my clients need, and finding a way to feed both your brand and yourself in that. Because there are brands where the original founder isn't the most extroverted, not influencer type, but her clients might be, his or her clients might be. And so being in that environment might make the most sense. Or shifting the mindset around, if you feel obligated to be somewhere, then either don't go or change the mindset around, this room's not going to serve me in my business, but it's going to serve my legacy. It's going to put me in a way in which I can be seen as a leader in my market. It's a way that I can be seen as a leader in my category. It's a way that I can be seen as a leader in the industry. And I want to be at the forefront of that. I want to be the facilitator of conversation. I want to set the tone, and I am sort of a landmark for my, geographical location, your individual category. I think there's sort of a shift on that. So anything that doesn't feel good to the body and to like how we naturally feel, you're not going to feel good being in that environment. So I would question you really, really intentionally, like, why do you feel like you need to be in that particular room? And how is that room actually serving you? Because if it's not, then again, why are you there?
Totally. You had said something just along the lines of like maybe putting on a front or feeling performative while you're at these networking events. And I was just curious if for somebody like me who I'm always learning, but particularly with the networking events, still learning, do you have advice for someone who is hasn't gone to many or still in like the learning stages of networking, not super comfortable, on how to be strategic at these networking events? So say I have chosen, let's use Kinetic because that one's easy and we've all been there.
Yeah.
Say I've just signed up. I have never been to a networking event before. It's smaller scale, and I mean smaller, not like Engage where there's like 400 people there. What advice, how can I be strategic in networking without being fake or like too overly self-promotional? Because Chelsea and I were also briefly talking about that just before you had gone on, and how predominantly women struggle a little bit with being self-promotional without sounding braggy, or you don't always have a friend to be like, oh, this is Chelsea, she just traveled to where and then letting Chelsea describe what that experience was like to sort of offer her experience and expertise. How are we to do that without being fake?
Can we do a little back and forth sort of role play here if we could?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Why did you come to Kinetic?
Why did I come to Kinetic? Chelsea actually had mentioned it to me. I had spoken with her about some goals that I had for my business and wanting to level up and meeting people outside of, my area. And she had brought up Kinetic was a place where you can do that. And you get to meet people from all over America, wherever you want to come from. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting.
Okay, so two things that we got from that right away. You found something that was vetted by another person who knows you. So you trusted a personal review, you trusted a personal recommendation because that person knows your,
Totally.
I'm going to trust your relationship because you guys have a podcast together, that that person knows you well enough to know a space that you would flourish in, that you would probably be best served in. Maybe that person, I mean, I know Chelsea's attended previously, so that person sort of knows what the inner workings are and could ask questions, right? So I think the first thing is, if you're going to go into a room, find anyone who's been in that room before or been in rooms similar and ask them about them if you're nervous about anything, right? If you're going to a 600 person event with a packed schedule, ask them when the best times are to go take a nap, to like skip things. Like, how can you refresh as an introvert? And then the second thing is, you said sort of you're hoping to level up, right? So I would ask, what around leveling up are you specifically focused on? Are you trying to do pricing? Are you trying to expand a market? Are you trying to find new, more aligned creative partners, right? Because I think, for those who didn't go, Lance Nickel, one of the speakers, had a really, really great sort of topic that got really philosophical on like growing horizontally, growing vertical. Like, there's lots of ways that we can sort of grow and level up. And so, I'm curious for you to dive deeper into like, how is it that you wanted to level up?
Totally. That was a really good point. And I also want to say this, how you sort of encourage finding somebody who's already been in the room. I think that is so important because, I had Chelsea, who I trust. She was like, you should come. Everything you're saying, this aligns with where you want to go. Come give it a try. And having her as a point, because I remember the first day I got there and I called my mom and I was a little bit overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, these are like big name experienced people. She's like, dude, just be you. And she said to me, if you are like panicking or you're super nervous, go find Chelsea. Yes. Just go find Chelsea. Chelsea has a really great way of, she knows me. So she knows what my triggers are, and they both said the exact same thing, which was so refreshing. But honestly, maybe having a partner to go with, just in case you're in an iffy situation, you can just be like, girls know. Listen, I've made this reference before. It's like when you're in a bar and that guy comes up to you, and girls just like, we can say everything with our eyes to each other. It can be like that too. You know what I mean? If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can just give some eyes and be like, okay, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for your time. Like, I'm going to go find somewhere else to, stand.
So one of my favorite ways is to go with somebody else, but to what I call conquer and divide. So you have a home base with somebody, that person's a home base. Even better, if you want to go the extra mile, come up with a code word. If you're more introverted, or you just need a zone that you can hide behind and someone can help defend you, like, just go and be like, hey, have you seen the rainbow in the sky? Like, come up with whatever word that is. And that person just knows, like, you need to go on a walk together. You need to go to the bathroom together, whatever it is. And that's can be really helpful if you're someone who just needs more energy, more introvertedly. But I think also, to your previous question, it's about building a strategy for yourself and looking at what your business needs, but it's not singularly focused. And I think that that's where people get sort of off the track or sort of off the pathway and feel like they're lost in the jungle a little bit, is that they go in thinking, I need to go get myself business. And that's great. But you have to realize everybody in that room has a different client, has a different customer, has a different way that they have a customer, the customers come to them, customer acquisition standpoint. And so I think when you layer in what is it that you need, and so to go back to the previous, example of like, if you're looking to level up your pricing, then find people whose pricing is above you, to have conversations with them, deep dive into like what they're doing, how you can become a second shooter or on their team, or, work with them, be in their orbit in order to like be brought along in that journey and learn from how they leveled up as well. I think there's learning to grow creatively or into a new geographical location. And that's simply just showing up as a human. I think what too many people mix up as a networking event is there's a difference between marketing and selling from B2B to B2C. When I'm selling as a business to a customer, B2C, I want to talk about my accolades. I want to talk about how I was on the inaugural list of the Not One to Watch list. I want to talk about how I'm a multifunctional founder of multiple different companies. Like, I want to talk about where I'm from, how I do it, all of those things. But to be in a room of other planners or other creatives who serve at the same level as I do, like, they all have those things too. I've been featured in Brett's. I've been featured in this. That's great. Most of us have at some degree or some not. And so what you have to then turn and realize is you're actually doing sales and marketing, business development with B2B businesses, with other businesses who have their own origin story, who have their own, internal networking things. So serve them as people. They really do want to just be served as a person, and just know like, hey, like, Michelle Norwood's building a house. How many of us have built a house before that like could honestly just be a real conversation that you're talking about? Same degree for anything else that, to anybody else. I mean, there was somebody there from Brazil, and then Claire Duran wasn't born in the States. Like, just an easy place to talk about and to connect over. And I think my viewpoint on finding people is that we're always in a constant pursuit of finding our ideal creative partner slate, right? And I'm never going to end that journey because I'm always evolving, as are my creative partners. And as they evolve and I evolve, the slate of creative partners that are the best fit for me, and also changes every event and geographical location, it's going to continue to change. So I want to sort of evolve with that. And I think that's just something you got to do together.
Absolutely. I think another thing, just, I mean, from my perspective as a photographer, that your perspective of that really resonated, business to business, sort of, everybody's evolving. You're selling to different people, and you have to understand, again, it all comes back to just laying out your own groundwork and understanding what could happen, what's going to happen, who you're speaking to. On the other end, on the very, very casual end of the scale, I think it's important for people who are either have a tainted view of a poor networking opportunity that they had, and like looking to change that mindset, or if you're just a new person, or you're like me who doesn't attend many of them and looking to start. Everybody's there for the same reason. You know what I mean? Look into what ones you're signing up for. I liked Kinetic. I liked the website. I liked that it seemed very community forward. I liked that it was smaller, because that means that I think there was honestly maybe 3 people that I didn't actually like have a deep conversation with. I said hi to everybody. I know that for a fact. There have been other events that I've attended where I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize how many people are going to be here. How am I going to say hello to every single one of these people? Not really what it's about. However, it does make it a little bit more difficult to sort of weed through, to find those exact people that you think that you're there to speak to, or you happen to stumble upon, especially when it's a one-day event or like an evening event and there's speakers there. You need to strategically like think about that. But anyways, I digress. I think it's important to realize that everybody going to these things, look up which one you're attending. What are their values? What are they teaching? Do you resonate with that kind of thing? Because all these other people who are just like you and me are going for the exact same reason. We all want to level up in a way. We all want to be better. We all want to evolve in some capacity. Now, my evolvement might be like pricing, like you said. Like, I want to level up. I want to charge more, take less, do bougier weddings, whatever it may be. Somebody else is maybe like, I'm just trying to find somebody who's not located in my area because I want to do workout on the West Coast rather than the East Coast. And I think that that's just so important, to like remember. And I just feel so bad for whoever had written in saying that they had a tainted experience, because
it was a couple people that really had a negative view on it, and I was like, ooh, I wasn't aware this was something that wasn't universally like loved. That's a little naive of me.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's obviously a group of people out there who are really struggling in this capacity. And I wanted to shine some light on maybe how to do it in a way that feels authentic to you.
Totally. I mean, both of you two have been doing networking, attending networking events, planning networking events, which I highly recommend everybody try. If you are tainted, go to Kinetic. I feel like you'll love it. Like, I can't see how anything negative could come out of that experience. I'm just tip top. Yeah.
I think one of the things you mentioned is, and sort of hinted as, the intimacy of the size. And the intimacy of the size doesn't just come from, under 100 people being a round number. There's actually intention behind that. And I think as people start to pull back the curtain on different things that Kinetic does, specifically, a lot of it is come and serves with purpose and intention behind it. But there's a study that basically shows that roughly people can keep about 150 close relationships. And so keeping about, right, some people can do more, some people can do less based upon sort of their memory. But like, if you really think about 150 people and you give everybody 5 minutes of your time, at some point, like, how soon do you then have to like go back to the first person and start over, right? So sort of reserving 50 for friends and family and people in their like normal life, like having under 100, the group size is big enough that you can move through smaller different groups over the course of 3 days, but yet it's it's large enough that you can move through those groups, but yet it's small enough that you don't feel like you're just another fish in the sea. Like, your voice matters, you are seen, your number is valued. When you leave the table, when you leave a room, your energy and presence is felt when that's sort of removed from that space. So the value of being under 100 people is really that every weight, every body in that space comes with a value, and like has their voice has weight and has value. Their energy has weight and value. Like we want to hear what they have to say. And so you obviously have, echoed the sort of value of the intimacy of the size, but it comes with, science and intention behind it too.
I love that. No, totally felt to a T.
I love that you mentioned your energy is felt when you're not there. I'll share this story only because I feel like it's pertinent. But I actually got a DM from someone that typically goes to the Cleveland with the events that I've been to. I try to go to all of them. I missed last night's because I'm obviously going on a trip. And I got a DM from them that said, "Oh, I kept waiting for you to walk through the door. Your energy was really missed." And I was like, that was actually probably the best compliment I've received this year. Like that to me tells me that the way I'm approaching a room is obviously felt in some aspect. And at the end of the day, you guys, like when you're networking or business developing, not everyone is gonna like your energy is not for everyone. You are not everyone's flavor, and that's okay. So like my energy might not be missed by everybody in the room, but it was missed by somebody in the room, which means that I made an impact on them at some point, which I think is all we can really ask for as we're showing up in these spaces, as Samantha said. But I also kind of
Authentically yourself too.
yeah. I mean, I will say, like, and I told Casey before you hopped on, Samantha, that I moved a lot as a kid. And so, like, I always kind of had to authentically be myself in new settings all the time. So I think that like, through my formative years, it was ingrained in me to be able to pick up and move and interact and meet new people, but not everyone has that same lived experience. So I think that that's also important to just keep in mind as, when someone else seems like they're really great at something and you feel like maybe that's hard for you, there's reasons, maybe that you're not aware of. But I really want to bring up the elephant in the room that a lot of people feel like networking is cliquey and that there's cliques and that they're going to walk into a room and feel unwelcome. So what do you have to say to the people that feel like the industry is just a bunch of cliques and a bunch of who's who and who's where, and there's certain pockets of people that feel like they always show up in a room together? What about people who don't necessarily have a home base or a clique or a group of tight, trusted people to be able to show up in this space with them, but they still want to show up?
Yeah. Okay. There's lots of layers to that question. So
Yes.
The first is you're totally allowed to feel your feelings, and you're totally allowed to feel how a room and a space and people make you feel. No one can ever take that away from you. That's not to say that we can't work through how that is or how you're interpreting a situation. I think having a group with you that can help you sort of reread a situation, because we all are predisposed to being super sensitive to different things based upon our nature versus nurture at its finest, of sort of how we were grown up, what we were exposed to. I'm the middle of five. My middle of five kids informs me on a lot of my life, and I've sort of learned and grown from that. I think the side of it where you said, it can appear to be cliquey, and how do we address that if we still want to show up? So the cliquey side of it is that you can't fault people for wanting to hang out with their friends if they don't live near their close friends, right? But it's also something that you have to sort of look in the mirror about, because are you hanging out with your friends when you're going to a networking event? Because you might be making somebody else feel that way too. So I always think it's important to sort of recognize what your feelings are and then sort of say, hey, someone else made me feel that way, but am I doing that same behavior that could make somebody else feel that way? Because it's also a reflection of your brand and this new era of sort of personal brand development, like how that's going to be evolved and what that looks like, right? So, and I think recognizing that your purpose for being in a room and your journey being in a room and networking and all of that is different than other people. Some people want to be a household name. Some people want to have, multiple books like Mindy Weiss. Some people need to be on the Today Show as, an event consultant and talk about the newest and latest trends. Other people, move in the shadows, move in the background, primarily get their referrals from other places. And their purpose for being in the room is different. Their purpose of being in the room is to be seen as a leader and other ways. I think if you still genuinely want to show up, genuinely show up. Don't let other people bug you. Go in with your head held high. go in and realize that for every person that you don't know in that room, there's an equal number of people who don't know you. And your goal should be to leave with more people knowing your name than anybody else, that you've touched people who want to talk to you again, that you've had a conversation that's, deeper than anything else. I went to the, shout out to the Whip in Nashville chapter, but I went to the Whip in Nashville gala, was randomly placed at a table. I sat between two guys, and one of them we've grown and have a friendship of. We like chat regularly. We are like Instagram friends. And we just had a really robust conversation about business over dinner. I had no choice in who I sat next to. They ate the rest of my steak. Like, it was like the most random things that happen at dinner. But I think your perception of a space is your perception, and you're entitled to those feelings, but be aware of how that is and show up how you want to show up. But make sure that you're showing up for yourself and not letting how other people are showing up be that influence. If you're trying to break into the clique, figure out if you think there's room truly at that table. Like, is there room for one more chair in that group of people? Or is it a group where you think you can thrive in and have enough connection points? Because you might best be trying to put a round peg into a square hole. And sometimes that can be harder to do over the long run.
I like that.
I mean, the
cute.
round pegs fit in square holes, just like it's reality, but it
No,
doesn't fit. It's not a perfect fit. It's problematic.
It's not a perfect fit, but you made it work. And I actually love that reference in sharing that story. It is so important to, especially if you are paying thousands of dollars, making investments. Dude, you are there. Make the most of it. You got seated next to two dudes you didn't know. You're like, I don't really know what I have in common, but you made the most of it. And now you have a friendship with them, or the one person, at least.
I mean, the other I do, we have a different funny story. So
okay. But I mean, like, you made the most of it. You were given a circumstance and you fit. I mean, I probably shouldn't use that reference when speaking of you and two guys, but the peg did fit in the square. You made it work, essentially. You made it
there
work.
was room at the table, and I made my chair fit.
Thank you.
But I think, when we layer it into what, how Kinetic does it, is you just have to release yourself to the experience, because you don't get to choose where you sit. You get to choose a few times, but not everything. And you just gotta embrace it and realize that maybe somebody else wants to introduce you to someone that they think you belong with, or see something in you that you maybe don't see within yourself yet. And it's not always about just yourself trying to get you there.
Totally. Yes. And I also love how Chelsea had touched on just showing up as like her authentic self. I mean, I don't think Chelsea could be fake if she tried. Like, she's just Chelsea. She is who she is.
Sometimes, unfortunately.
I was going to say, you either love it or you don't, but Chelsea's never, if there's something where, I mean, I don't personally know of anybody who dislike her. However, not everybody is everybody's cup of tea, and Chelsea shows up as her. And then when she makes those connections, because I've been friends with her for long enough now to see this and witness this at networking events, at just in personal life, when you are your authentic self and you find another person who is also their authentic self, and you both have this authentic radiating energy, and you guys click, the business, the friendships, everything feels so right and harmonious. It is a square peg and a square hole. It is a circle peg and a circle hole. And it feels so good. And it really does, because I can understand how cliques and things like that. Listen, people do have their groups. They do have that. They've been doing it for a while. You need people. You need community. That's how we thrive in this business. That's how you thrive in life. And I can understand from a standpoint of having a negative experience or feeling like, I'm definitely not going to fit in there. It's a-okay. Go be you. Say thank you for your time. I appreciate what showing up here. You're not for me. I'm not for you. You don't have to say that out loud, obviously, but think it in your head. And you can, move on, and you just make the most out of it. Be yourself and make the most out of that. I think that
But you tried, right? Like that. I think that's the important part, is like, go out and try. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. If you thought you had somebody else's brand aligned and it didn't hit, like, you tried. Keep going. Just keep going. This is a long game. Like, and that's, I think, the hardest part. It's kind of like weight loss or, getting fit. Like, one workout doesn't change. It's about being good at doing something repetitive, because over time it does pay off. It is something in the consistency game.
Consistency. So I just remembered a story. I had a friend text me, and we're kind of accountability partners, and she felt a little bit frustrated with how an intro call with the planner went. She's a photographer. She felt like it was a little bit surface level. And I was like, well, so and so. It was kind of like a blind date that was maybe set up with, like we can compare business and working relationships to dating. You're not going to go straight to engagement or booking a wedding together. You're not going to go straight to a proposal from a blind date. It doesn't work like that in general in life and business. And she was like, oh, duh. Like, I'm like, just continue, and if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. If it's a nurturing relationship, nurture it. So I love that. I love that you brought that up.
And I think, Chelsea, to that point, one of my favorite like mindset shifts is to go at it from a give philosophy, sort of like going at it thinking, I want to give and I want to give and I want to give before I ask to take something from somebody else. Because when you go with the intention of taking, if the other person is also with the expectation of taking, there's nothing left there. And so you've got to go trying to serve other people because they want to feel like you're truly service minded and in an industry based on hospitality. Like that's my viewpoint, is that we're all here from the hospitality mindset. And so give before you take.
Well, that's what I did with you. I loved Samantha's designs and I loved her work. And I saw she was hosting a styled shoot way back in the day.
Styled shoot.
Way back in the day. I purposefully booked the last slot of the day, didn't even ask, and just started helping
True
clean.
story.
And I think it was years before we booked an actual client together. And that was okay with me because I genuinely did want to give, because I did love what you were producing and what your future goals were. I think that probably the best example of investing in the long game, also from a genuine standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, it was not like, I'm going to clean up for Samantha and I'll book a wedding with her tomorrow. Like, that was not the goal.
Right. Chelsea, I also think to your friend or colleague's conversation too, I would go back and ask the questions of what questions did you ask? Because, talking about a blind date or your first date, like you can go on a first date and talk about work and talk about what time you wake up in the morning and how you take your coffee. And that's all good and dandy, but I don't care. I don't. People ask me about the weather as a wedding planner. I might get in trouble saying this, but I don't care about the weather. I don't. I'll figure it out. I always have a plan, but my plan is a lot deeper than an A and a B plan. We go way deep into the alphabet for all sorts of things because there's so much more that goes into a weather plan. But it's like dating. There's so much more to people than like what they do and how they do it. It's like, great. The process at a certain level, everyone is functioning with a phenomenal brand and a phenomenal process and has a great viewpoint and great artistry and creativity. To another point, sometimes those are people, Simon Sinek says it a really great way. Is that someone that you want to be in a foxhole with? Is that someone when it totally rains on a wedding day, or it hails, or your flight's missed, or the bag of linens didn't arrive on time? Is that somebody you want to be in a foxhole with? Is that someone who's going to show up with you, who's going to vouch for your work, who's going to support you through thick and thin? Like, those are the people I want to find. Those are the people who helped me at the end of a styled shoot, who pick up a linen when it rained on everything just so that we can avoid the linen getting any more water bleed up the legs, right? Like, those are the people who I think are most important for what I look for. But everyone's set of it is different. And so if you want to leave a really good impression from a first conversation with a planner or anybody, ask fire starter questions, dig into really robust questions, and find something that's going to leave an impression that's like, oh, I've never had that kind of conversation. I want more of those because I felt valued.
Ooh, I am going to go to my chat GPT after this conversation and have some discussions with her about how to do that in a way, because she knows my brand so well. I talk about her like she's real, but she knows my brand so well. So I'm going to be like, hey, help a girl out. But I kind of want to take a little bit of a hard left. I want to respect both of your time. How has networking helped you, Samantha? Is there, obviously it could be rolled into a snowball, right? Lots of things, but is there anything or one specific example that you can share that you're like, wow, this one moment or this event or this being in the room with this person has pushed my trajectory forward?
I'll give the example of Shannon LeenHeer. I've been sort of an Instagram friend of Shannon LeenHeer's for a long time. And Shannon was a speaker previously for an event that I hosted. And our relationship from that event continued to grow. We continue to stay in contact. I just so happened to get the opportunity to go work on an event with her, which is really, really great opportunity to, get to know how her business runs and see it, function from a first and foremost standpoint. And then she recently launched her playbook, which is all about, it's a course about sort of building your event team and developing it. And I got to go on her platform and interview her. And so I don't think if our relationship was existing that we would have been able to do that. And I don't think if I sort of had started networking from the very beginning and I share that story because it's not about me booking business. It's about me pursuing something that's important and passionate to me, which is finding creatives at different tiers who value something very aligned. Shannon has a business that I think is really, really wonderful in the way that she's formatted, the way that she does designs, the way that she approaches her clients, and doesn't come off with a higher than thou sort of approach to things. And she's always, in my opinion, anytime you've engaged with her, always stayed very down to earth. And it's important to me to find other people who do that and have those people in my orbit, whether at a long distance or a short distance. So that connection has been able to be and sort of has allowed me to learn more things from someone in the industry who I think is a leader at the forefront from that standpoint. So I share that not because it was business, but networking can lead to a lot of business. There's lots of people who went to our Santa Barbara event who are working together. I'm working with one of them this weekend only because I met them at Santa Barbara. But I think there's lots of ways that I've connected with venue owners or venue coordinators and really built a relationship from there. And we've been able to show them really truthfully how our team works and functions and how our team over at House of Joy cares about the venue, not just our clients, and really values every member of the creative team. And that's something that when we're on site, that they know that their venue is going to be taken care of 10 times more than maybe somebody else's would be, because we care about everyone that we come in touch with. We care about leaving a place better than, if not as good as we found it. So yeah, those are sort of two sort of little synopsis stories that I would share.
Wondering, Samantha, do you have a personal rule or a mantra for yourself when walking into a networking event or a room full of people you've never met before? How do you network with intention and joy, if you will?
Yeah. I think when it comes to going into a new room and trying to network with intention and joy and sort of purpose, I do a couple different things. I'll sort of talk about my typical practices, because I think that that's going to be the best way for me to sort of present in that space. So I have a Google Doc, and in my Google Doc, it has my fire starter questions. So I always refresh my mind on my fire starter questions. It has my brand vision, it has my brand mission, and it has my personal brand philosophy. So I go through and I reset myself on what that language is, refresh my brain about it so that I can feel very natural, very casual about what I want to do. And then I always sort of go in there and look at what are our current goals? What are we trying to find? Again, going back to that, there are different things. As a business owner, I need this. As a manager of a team, I need this. As somebody who's running conferences, this. As a creative director, I'm looking for people like this, so that no matter where I'm in that room, I can be that way. I sometimes, not always, but sometimes I need to gamify the room and just see how many people. I do this with certain rooms that I might be known more in. I try to seek out anyone who I don't know and only talk to people who I don't already know, so that I feel really, really approachable, because I want to leave the impression to people in that space that I am very approachable, that anyone can come talk to me, that they're not going to get the cold shoulder from me, because that's not who I am. That's not how our brand is. That's not the joy I want other people to feel from engaging with us. And so I go at it again with the mindset of that, for me, I want to be a leader in a space. And so I want to go in there. I do a little deep breathing in the car. I do listen to some positive affirmation music typically before I go, but I try to fully show up in a room if I'm going to go. And if I don't feel like I can fully show up in a room, I either ask other people for help because I need to get something out of my system and vent or whatever it is, because I'm still human. Or I don't go, and canceling is okay. And not going is also okay. So for me, those are sort of my best practices of how I do it. And they're different for everyone. So I think knowing yourself best knows sort of how you can do that best.
Totally. Those are really, really good rules, I think. And I'm sure, we didn't have a ton of time to talk Kinetic because you were doing literally everything. I think I saw you flying at one point with a cape behind you. I'm not going to lie. It's so interesting to hear everybody's takes. And I think it's also interesting to note that a lot of people, I would never assume or think that you, Samantha, House of Joy, would like, I don't know, do affirmations and like deep breathing in the car, like write stuff down. I would have assumed that you already know that. Like you are so good that you are doing that. It honestly brings you, it grounds me for you. And it's information like that about people. Like I got chills when you said, I'm sappy. So it makes sense. I'm also emotional. So, but how you said you make it a point to go speak to and meet people that you haven't met yet, regardless if you know that or don't know like how the relationship is going to unfold. I think that that's so humbling, and I really really like that you do that, because people like me who are newer into the networking spaces, it is very overwhelming. And if I had somebody like you come up to me, be like, hi, like how are you, tell, you know, how do you take your coffee? Just kidding. um I would be like, oh my gosh, this is so special for me. Like you are a person who makes other, same for Chelsea, you being that person and taking all those steps makes you a person worth knowing. I think that those are all the things that sets you aside. That is things that when you leave a room, I would take note, and you make me feel seen, which I think is really, really important. I think, again, community is just plays such a massive role in this life, business wise, personal as well. And I think you making other people feel seen leaves a massive perfect, I can't now, all I can think of is the peg, the circle peg there.
All the
Sorry.
holes are
I
fitting.
love it. No,
All the
I
holes
love
are
it.
fitting.
All the holes are fitting. Like
I
yeah,
I
I'll hold your
yeah.
peg, whatever you
Yeah,
need.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I know we used Kinetic a lot as an example, just because we all three were there recently. And I go to a lot of different ones, so I love and appreciate all of them differently. But Samantha, I want to give you kind of just a few minutes for this platform to share about Kinetic, share about what makes it so special, so different. I mean, if you were, it's almost like if you know, the people that were at Santa Barbara were like, oh, holy shit, something really, really magical just happened here. And obviously we kind of want to gatekeep and keep that magic to ourselves. But we would love to just kind of give you this opportunity to kind of share with our audience what Kinetic is about, your kind of your goals, what the feeling of it, just whatever you want to share. We want to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, Casey, I want to say thank you. That was very, very kind of you. It has not been a smooth ride, the easiest of rides, I think, through any of our journeys. So it's really great to sort of be seen and heard and validated in that. And it comes from doing the work around how I want other people to feel when they work with us and they work with any of the brands that I work with, because to me, at the heart of everything that we do is people, and people sort of always come first. And to be able to say that is one thing, but to be able to live it and have other people feel that is a totally different thing. So that's really important to me. And I'm glad that you felt that way. As far as Kinetic and all the things that you need to know about Kinetic. So Kinetic is a boutique gathering for wedding and event professionals. It is open to any and all vendor categories. So we don't limit the categories that come, but we do limit the number of people in each category. For us, it's very healthy for there to be a mix of all different vendor categories at the table. And it's part of what makes the magic of our events happen. All of our speakers attend the event in entirety. So you really get that sort of hands-on personal approach. And everything that we do is steeped through the lens of people and experiences. I tell the story that growing up, my dad used to say, if you want to go on a date with somebody, don't go to the movies, because you don't learn anything about anybody when you go to the movies. You need to go bowling, go cooking, go do something. You learn a lot about who your people are and how your people function in times of stress and joy when you can experience stress and joy together. So not that we put you in stressful situations at Kinetic, but I'm just an example. So if you want to learn more about Kinetic, you can find us at Kinetic Experiences on Instagram. If you want to sort of be in the know, I highly recommend joining our email list, which is also our wait list. Our wait list and our alumni get to know all the information before any of it goes public on social media. And if you are looking for a nomination that you hope will result in an invitation, you best be talking to anyone who attended Santa Barbara, because they're going to get access to all the information. I don't know when this will air, but our spring event will be launching in information will start dripping out in June through July. So be on the lookout for that. And then just signed the paperwork and just sent over deposit information.
Okay,
You
this
guys,
is like crucial information.
I could not, listen, I'm not someone who like gets overwhelmed. Taylor Swift could be a part, next to me with Travis Kelce, and I would just be like, cool, hi, like you're just a person. I like don't, but I am so stoked about this property. I'm so stoked about this partnership with this property. I like can't wait to just like finally tell people. And so that information will be coming out soon. And then the fall will be released late summer, early fall. We should have our fall location settled out as well. And the lineup of speakers and people we have for each of them is very, very exciting. So follow us on Instagram or join our email list. I'm always in the DMs there. That's really where I build the community off of the main page. So there are real people behind the Instagram and behind the email. Or shoot us an email. Let's chat.
Yes, but if you're cool and can vibe and are open to communication and community, that's the people that we want. I say we, Samantha, what Samantha has created. But I think everyone that attended in Santa Barbara is really almost a little bit protective over the experience because it was that good. Like, not to be dramatic. Like, I'm not saying I'm not dramatic. But like, I've been to so many and they've never felt like this before. I came home and talked about it for hours with people, and people are like, don't you go to like 8 of these a week? And
you
I'm
guys,
like,
spring 2026, man. I'm about to set a bar for myself that I'm a little nervous about.
Look, and here's the thing.
That's good, though.
I know
it's going to be amazing.
It is hard for people to choose where to go and put their money. I will be the first to admit that I'm sitting here like, we have so many in front of us, and it's really hard to know where to put your dollars. But I am an evangelist for this one. And I know Casey is too, and we just we cannot.
I could talk about it all day,
and we cannot wait to see the growth that comes from this, the impact that you have on the ripples, the waves that come from your impact on the community as a whole. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I love also providing my energy for that. Casey provides her energy for that, and it all kind of creates magic. So we cannot wait. I will be there. And Casey, you better be there.
I'm always happy to share if anyone has, As I'm always happy to share. People have questions about it, want to learn about something, really knee deep. Was having a conversation earlier this week about somebody who might have a baby and might need to be nursing. And, we'll make accommodations to make sure all of that can be handled and let you know the ins and the outs so you can form out your pumping schedule. I mean, anything, all the things. So if anyone has questions about it, want to sort of get to know the inner workings of all of it, get to know sort of how the information goes out and who the people are and the makeup, like I'm always happy to chat about it because I think that sort of knowledge is really powerful in coming up with your own strategy and how you're going to be in a space.
Yeah, completely.
You are awesome in every aspect. Yeah. Thank you so much for everything today. You crushed it.
Thanks for
in
having
the best
me.
way possible. Hopefully the nerves are fully gone or easing its way out. And hopefully we can have you on again. This was such a refreshing, meaningful conversation. And I'm glad, you know what? If it took having to get you on the podcast to learn a little bit more about you, I'm happy to have skipped the time at Kinetic. I met so many other amazing people thanks to you and niching down, who the list of people, the events that we did, the speakers, all those. I'm just happy that I got to know you a little bit deeper today, and everybody else will also get to know you a little bit deeper once we air it next Wednesday, which is going to be super, super exciting. I can't wait. Every person that we have on this podcast, I'm just like, it can't get better than the last one. And every person, like you shocked me. And I love being shocked because I get bored so easy. And you are such a powerful speaker. So Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. It's much appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any parting words for people?
On the topic of business development, do the work with yourself first. But just know that you have your own path and your own journey, and move with intention, and all the good things will come to you.
Absolutely.
You guys, thank you so much for this. Amazing. No notes. All right, ladies. Bye.